Okay, I'm live. I'm gonna go through. I want to actually do a, a prep screen that actually goes through and displays. Um, I'll have the incorporate the Rebus on it to to go through and play the background music as well. And I may just come up with an image now and then later on kind of work with it or whatever else. But I wanted to go with I'll be on momentarily or I'll be live momentarily using the Rebus symbols, and I think that'll be a kind of a nice little intro screen. And I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to cut the swamp cooler just because I want to cut down a little bit of the noise here. It's cool enough. So what I'll do is, I don't know if I want to do, probably not of me on the webcam, but I'll move this up to my big screen momentarily. Okay. I just want to get enough screen captures here. Okay. Tell me everything's excellent connection. Okay. Okay. Get back on the screen here myself. Okay. And I think I'm going to go through and I'll cut that music now, which will go through and stop any screensaver for now. Okay, and I'm just kind of listening in for anybody that's going to come on chat, be responsive that way. Let's get some fans back on so my system stays cool. It's not too bad in here right now, but okay, I think I've got everything I want up. Otherwise, in fact, let's do that. Was a good position maybe to have that. Go through and use my multiple screens that I have available. And good morning, Hugh. I guess it's afternoon for you, so morning for me, afternoon for you. Oh, that's good. I haven't been up here so long. I mean, the last time I came up, I think even for the YouTube stream, and I know for the Facebook stream I was on early, and Major Tom suggesting I go through and create, of course, a wait screen, something that is playing before I'm live streaming, that tells people I'll be there, even to create a screen that I can put up when I'm away temporarily or something like that, going through and turning off the cooler or whatever there. But and I'll probably go through that a little bit later on and use my editing software to come up with something like that and get just a step professional again. So any comments on the recent content on my channel? You know, I've tried to I know I'm not maintaining the one video per day, but pretty close. And I know that there's some content, but it's just sometimes a challenge for me to go through and to get particular things up, and I just try and react to how I have things happening. So, and I do want to, and this is not just to take my attention aside, but I want to start up my Facebook as well and kind of catch up. In fact, I need to even look at my email to see if I've got. Oh, okay. And the nice thing is, okay, I even got a text in. It says, question about the PS2 L40SX. Hello, IBM Museum. I might be coming into possession of an L40SX soon, though it comes without a power supply. Can you give me some info about what voltage and amperage it uses and what pinout the power supply has, so I could look into an alternative one? Thank you for your time and information. and that's 10 hours ago. I should have checked my, well, that was pretty late last night anyway. That'd have been after midnight. So I'll get to reply to that. And as being only an occasional thing that I see, because I mean, people are learning to get my where my address is and everything else, and that's great. I'll be able to provide that information. Okay, and I get information on the local job listings, and I haven't had a call. I did put in an application over a week ago, on a local tech position here, and they asked, the application had, how many years have you been in computer and electronics? And I listed 35 years, and I have not heard from them at all. Which is, well, okay. Yeah, I'm just getting caught up on some of the things that happen while I sleep. So, okay. And I've got to go through, I will, once the stream is over, I've got to go through and repair a cable for a security camera from my mom's place here. That's the outdoor run that of cable, and probably mice chewing through it yet again. I've patched it before. It's been raining, so that may have gone through and got into the cable despite all my wraps of electrical tape, but I'll have to figure out. And yeah, I understand 5 p.m. there, sunny but cool. And I always tell people, you know, I'm used to more of the expressing time as GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, and I'm at GMT -7, and I enjoyed your content. Always viewing your old content, learning something new almost every time. And so I've been doing the channel for videos in earnest for about a year, and I've got some older content, some of that stuff that was there in October and November. That, I mean, with the old backdrop in particular, and my microphone setup not doing well at all at that time, it's definitely older content. I'll go to the point. I'll leave up a lot of it, but I intend to revise some of the information videos at that time. If I went over a model, something like my PC convertible stuff, I'll probably redo in the end. And I'm sorry, the text is kind of small. I may have to go through and put on glasses and yeah. And when I'm not learning something new, I'm remembering things that I've done in the past. It's for jobs in Scotland. There are times, but no one wants a 60-year-old half-deaf and disabled IT guy. And I mean, I feel you there, Hugh. I'm 56 years old, and For a lot of intents and purposes, I'm starting over if I go out there and get excuse me, to get employed out there in the market again, to get a job, which I realize I have to do. I mean, I do have to have income, and that's effectively for the tech jobs here. I mean, I'm old enough now that I'm not going to be moving around and changing location and going living a few hours away. I have my house here, you know, that I'm working to getting close to paid off. I'm not going to go anywhere else. I have to get a job locally, and my last job I had to do a half-hour commute each way, half hour there, half hour back, and would be typically gone for very long periods of time in the day. If I went up there, we started doing 10-hour schedules, and you know, that was easy enough for me. I can, once I get to a place and everything else, I can work for 10 hours. But some of the alternatives I've seen lately, I mean, have been at least an hour of commute, an hour there, an hour back, and that's a little bit too much for me at my age. And I understand about the learning thing, and I try and keep learning too. And it's just where the if you're not learning, you're dead. So I mean, that's the push for me to keep learning, and keep at things. And I actually try, and I think I've forgotten a lot of stuff too. I need to keep current in a lot of the stuff that I've learned, and keep with it just to remember that stuff and remember some of the stuff I've done, remember some of the stuff. I'm going to be briefly off camera here, and I'll be right back. Yeah, no one wants to see me wipe my nose or anything like that on video. I may go through and start combing on my beard or something like that too, but and then I'll probably wait till the live stream's over to go through and get coffee started. I've got an energy drink here. And I can do a hauls to at least get a little bit of the my nasal passages flowing and everything too. So, but yeah, that's one of the things for, in particular with the video last night. I kind of remembered that Microsoft at the time of the later DOS versions, we're talking about into version 6. So the 6.0, they skipped 6.1 because IBM had PC DOS 6.1, and they went to, just as Microsoft does, jumping version number sometimes, the 6.2 viewed as 6.20, 6.21, 6.22. They made the utilities in there, the debug and other things, only work with the version of DOS that it was distributed with. So you could go through and even have an MS-DOS 6.21 and have a debug from earlier or later, even a slight version, and that would not go through and run. It'd tell you incorrect DOS version. And just one of those nutty things, and I can understand why they're not wanting people copy their utilities and post them around. But and it's really amazing for me because debug really didn't change over the years. I mean, once it had all the basic functionality there, getting into version 3.3, and I mean, I don't think it changed at all for the functionality, at least that I use, for all those years. And you know, so like I say, I realize why they do it, but it's something that you run into when you're working with the older DOS versions like that. Yeah, exactly. And computer stuff now, for us old timers, it's different from it used to be. You had a computer science degree, and even computers were a very relatively narrow field for a lot of things out there in the industry, and even sometimes so not even all that much difference in programming language, or not a whole variety of programming languages out there, um, and it was easy enough to apply yourself the in the field because it wasn't such a large thing. In fact, it really necessarily wasn't IT yet for a lot of the things, and now it's a whole bunch of certifications, very specific certifications, um, and sometimes where the certifications are a level that you don't encounter. You know, you have a little bit of a Cisco equipment around maybe, and to be CCNA, it's just you know, it's got its levels to it, but you know, the joke was I've been seeing recently is talking about um, advertising for hiring a position like in a programming language, a new programming language that's come up, that's been developed by someone out there, and even have the developer apply for the job. And it says, you know, you've got to have 5 years in this programming language, and it says, well, that's kind of hard to do because I just wrote this language 3 years ago. They're hearing from the sources that that actually, you know, someone applying that actually developed the language themselves. Excuse me here. Of course, I'm with age, as you know, everything. I get affected by that as well, and I'm getting upright, getting all my sciences cleared, everything else going. So, yeah, DOS 2, and yeah, to the user interface of Windows 3.0 being a very common release of Windows for the user interface that you could have on top of DOS, and of course, the PS2 is being released with when DOS 3.3 came out, and IBM even trying to have OS 2 released at the same time, and working with Microsoft at that time too, and having a little bit of delays to OS 2, and of course later on that falling apart a little bit, and the DOS 4.0, you know, being having some bugs and not getting the attention, the development time that it needed, took both Microsoft and IBM to go through and kind of work with that to get it to move on and get into the back in the DOS version 5s, where they it seems like they recovered a little bit better, and that was a better received version. But and that's where I started as well. Was in the DOS days, and the school I went through for the Z248 when I was in the U.S. Navy was based on a 286 CPU, and the class was teaching DOS 3.2. Although I think that we started working with in the class the DOS 3.3, and then out there in the world was DOS 4 at that time, and that was back in I think 1988 or 89 is when I started working a little bit with that, and I'd been in electronics a little bit earlier already, and yeah, and you got more. It sounds like you got more certification than I did, Hugh, because um, I don't really have anything. I took a couple Microsoft courses, and in fact, I actually need to here locally. I need to get started back in to get my low voltage cabling certification for, and that would be if I have to install low voltage cables like network cables, security camera cables. Um, it's called ES7J in the state of New Mexico, and I've had that before. I need to get in that again. That being a physical certification, like electrician level sort of thing. Of course, electrician being much more involved in being higher voltages. The low voltage cabling is not all that complex to study, and it's mainly dealing with fire breaks. When you're going through walls and things like that, you've got to go through and make sure that and how you're running cables, and the flammability of those cables, or how they break down under a fire. Is a lot of the coursework there, and there's even places I'm amazed that Tom Lawrence for of the known YouTube channel and everything else for the company that he has up there in Michigan. Michigan doesn't require any certification for doing low voltage cabling at all, and so they're not necessarily any regulation or certification to do cable. And of course, New Mexico, as well as other states too, if you had your lead person or a person of the business that's able to check the cabling and the wiring and everything else after the job is finished, and just to watch over things as the job is being done too. The business can have to where they have techs that are not certified in the low voltage cabling, just because the oversight of that senior tech there having that certification. So it gets a little bit like electrician, where New Mexico and a lot of states, you can even do your own electrical wiring at your home, but you have to have that work certified by an electrician before power is applied. And of course, electricians are going to go through. It's almost to the point where it'd be an equal cost just to hire the electrician in the first place to do the wiring. So, but do we have anybody else out there in viewer land, in addition to Hugh, that can post a question or anything else? I'm seeing it jump up to occasionally up to 2 people, back down to 1. I'm not knowing the viewership, and I'm going with the morning time frame because my experience has been or morning for me, the ability for me to have more viewers at this time slot than the other times I've gone through. So I have no idea other than that, really, unless you speak up in the comment section to whether I have, I'm getting live views or not. And of course, I understand that that people can always watch this in replay too, but I look at my live streams as a way to talk to my viewers live. I mean, I look for the feedback of what my viewers enjoy, what areas that they think would be a better for me to focus on or that they're interested in, so I can react. It's not the live stream, unlike some other channels, it's not going through and opening up a particular model and doing work. And although I can do those things too, and in fact, I wanted to go through. I'll probably bring up the PS2 P75s that I have, and talk about them. For there's going to be some video content. Of course, I need to go through and I need to capture the BIOS of that, because that's not a that's not been it's not in our chart right now, so we need to get that. But that's going to be some future content. I've got to go through and I've got to figure out, and I thought about pulling up my camcorder for the for finding the where that little surface mount capacitor came from on this board, on the PIC-MG board from IBM. And these are for I'll be doing a lot of videos on these units, of what systems these go in, what the case looks like, because I have a couple of these systems, and I've got the spare CPU card, or the whole system, but I need to figure out where that capacitor came from and do it on a camcorder view. And that's not necessarily a real action-packed video or anything like that. Kind of boring content, and I don't know how much people want to go through and watch me on the bench, like an Adrian Black, of going through and looking the board over and soldering things in. And I appreciate those videos too. I mean, I like when they play content of doing the tech job that we all enjoy. But I'll only do that from time to time. I look at the live stream as going through and being able to interact with my viewers a little bit more. I'm going to go through and I'm going to get the cooler back on too. It's just getting a little bit too warm in here, and I can understand people agree with Major Tom that I need to go through and to have a screen I can put up, or go through and take down the internal webcam view as I'm getting in, moving around and doing things, and like I say, I think that'll be I'll be back momentarily and use those Rebus symbols of the, like on the screensaver, and that'll be a nice little screen I can do for that. But, and so it says, okay, so Kevin's here too. And hello back to Canada, where Kevin is. So I've got the international viewers. I haven't heard of anybody domestically to me saying, yeah, it's not easy to sit down at the computer at a specific time. For a lot of people, I mostly watch live streams in replay late at night, and I can understand all that too, and my time frame. But I just look at, it's going to be a calendar schedule that I've arrived at, that where I'm going to do every Saturday morning. I'm going to go through and do a live stream at my end, and as I say, it's a chance for me to interact with viewers, and then one of those weekend live streams will be probably on Facebook, and the other 3 being on YouTube. And I had a YouTube survey last night. It was a long, drawn-out thing once I got home, and once I got into it, I was like, I don't know why I chose to go through and be a part of the survey, because it was asking me a lot of questions, and that really I wasn't of a mind to do at the time. But I felt if YouTube reacted to it, it would, I could express my concerns, and they could, if it helped to change the platform a little bit, that would be great for new creators to have an ability to get their videos out there a little bit more. But it just and it talked about a few other platforms as well. It's going to be Instagram and Facebook as far as the live streaming aspect on those. And the Instagram, I really haven't got into as far as anything more than pictures right now. I need to develop a little bit more on my for my channel development, to pull people into my content on YouTube from Instagram. And another of the formats that I saw there, and this is a lot of the ways it's a live format, not so much in replay, is the Twitch live streams. And I said I wouldn't do wiping my nose or anything else like that on camera, but well, there it is. But yeah, I can understand people's times, and I mean, in particular, with employment out there, I mean, it would be hard for me to go through and watch videos and things like that. And there's a lot of informative videos on YouTube for a whole variety of things that as a way of learning. I mean, it's a pretty good platform despite all the downsides. And one of the things that I may be doing a little bit too is, and it doesn't need a lot of education for these, but I'm going to be going through and unpacking that. This is the dash cam that I unpacked, that I relatively unboxed and installed yesterday. And these are easy. I've worked with these VAVA units for a period of time, but I got another one in yesterday that I'm going to look at as well today, and I'll probably be going through on Facebook. I talked about the VAVA logo. You can't tell whether it's upside down or not. It's like the old Sun Microsystems logo that was the square that you could turn on any of its sides, and it looked the same for the Sun, having that rotational ability to be displayed. But I'll be looking at this today and figuring out what vehicle and everything else I'll be installing it on. Um, but um, the and so yeah, just like I say, I can't tell. I mean, I have playbacks, but I don't really. It YouTube doesn't really track the concurrent viewers as much as I thought. Oh, okay. And then there's Chris on, my biggest cheerleader out there, and I know Chris has been really busy here lately too. I used to be busy like that at work, and I was constantly going through on the SIF news group of talking about why I didn't have the time to do things, and that was over the years, over those many years. How I wrote that, and the funny thing at times is even that I was on SIF for when I was even deployed over in the Middle East, and saw the where I wrote down where I had and I had more free time when I was there, more than when I was back on the job here in the United States. And I even participated on SIF. I mean, I didn't have my any of my systems at hand or anything else, and I kind of had to keep up with the other members to just to go through and get online and go to what Louis Olin had accumulated and for what he had web pages on at the time. And that was at a point too where I think he was shifting hosting providers or having a little bit of hard time with Charter, that I was even doing a little bit of the hosting. And you'll go back and you'll read post from Louis and talks about open the pod bay doors, how he had a hard time FTPing and transferring files up to the web space that I had set up for him. And so he did a play on quotes for the 2001 Space Odyssey, and how he is not able to get any. Hal always had to, open the doors and open the pod bay doors, Hal, so he could get in there. Yeah, YouTube should show you how many folks are viewing at a time. And I don't know what it is to the technology. I can understand that they may not be able to really. That be maybe a hard metric to track, of how many viewers you're having in a real time enough format, with the live stream changing constantly. But yeah, so they don't do so well at that. I'm currently seeing concurrent viewers. I'm seeing, I've seen a high spot of 3. It's been the most it's shown, like it is now. But the playbacks number is 15, and I can't understand that as far as how they come back up with the number of playbacks for a video that's live. I mean, how are people starting that video over somehow, or are they going in from the start of the live stream? And let me kind of read up. I like I say, I want to use these live streams to interact with my viewers. Fortunately, I have my evenings sometimes, and not having to drive into DC is a saving grace right now. And I think that's the important thing. Of at least COVID showed us how we could, our society, how we could telecommute for a number of jobs. Although there are a number of jobs, of course, of wait staff and restaurants and things like that. Of course, that you can't telecommute into a job like that. But that's always been a thought for me as well. I talked about the job prospects here locally, Chris, and how the certifications and everything else apply that. And I've got somebody local that I work with as well that he's been in the tech side, help desk side for a long time, and as he views it, he and he's even younger than me, but he talks about the IT jobs out there that are basically are telecommute jobs, that you don't have to be local for those jobs, that there are some applications to where as long as you're a driven individual and can manage your time and the job tasks, that you can go through and do that you can perform that job remotely. You can be at a different location than the main company. You don't have to go into the office as long as you're able to. That work is is set up to where you're able to do that remotely. That's a great thing, and that might be an avenue for me to find something like that to where I could telecommute to a job. And those are nice also as well, because the hours are not as strict. As long as you have that production level, that you're able to complete your work, and it doesn't matter what time of day that you're doing it at. And my odd schedule right now is just where I'm active a lot more in the evening hours, and sometimes it's kind of more of a challenge for me to go through and to go to sleep at an early enough time for the next day. I'm really out of a schedule now that I've been away from a standard job, conventional job, for more than a year and a half. And it's according to whatever schedule that I do for myself, that I hold for myself. And it's one of the things I can do, but it's a challenge for me to. It would be a challenge for me to adapt to a schedule that is a 9 to 5. I'm old enough to remember the movie, going and showing in theaters, of 9 to 5. Lily Tomlin and Dolly Parton and all that, of women in the workforce, of showing how that 9 to 5 job, and having the what they encountered for those jobs. Playback and concurrent doesn't match at all. It doesn't line up to anything in reality that I can understand. And I can understand being exhausted, and from I had those moments on the job too, and the code red virus, and I mean, that was even back 20 years ago. That was 2001 in July for the code red virus. But going through and we did something like 37 hours up straight for going through and trying to get the code red worm out of our servers. And so that was, we've gone through other times of power outages that we had where we had to bring in a generator to keep the equipment running, or come up with a power source. And you could say for an ISP, it's not a people could understand when power's out that you don't have equipment running, but I mean, they look at internet as a vital thing. And of course, we would have upset people talking about, why can't I get on the internet? And the phones would work for the people to be able to reach you, but you didn't have power for the equipment to have it up and running, and had to come up with a way. So, yeah. So let me read a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah, and we know that you're. It's great, Hugh, that you go through and always leave comments. I can always count on that. That it does make me feel, or brings up my self worth to feel that I'm helping someone, that I'm being viewed out there, and someone liking the content that I'm putting up. I've seen you also making comments on Chris's videos as well, and I know that you go through and watch his channel. Yeah, and we even had that one tech that was here locally at the place that I was applying. I think he was moving off to the DC area or back east in some way. And of course, you have to realize back east for me can mean DC or a wide variety of things. The so-called Midwest is kind of still a mystery to me for what they define that region as, for being west of something. And I realized that label came on, back probably a century or more ago, when it was the west of the United States. But it's just I call here in town, it just seems to be, I say, tech resistant, that it goes through, and there's just not a whole bunch of the IT sort of things. And that's even remarkable for Intel having a presence in the state, and they're really expanding up in Rio Rancho right now. Microsoft having a time at the start of Microsoft where they were in the Albuquerque area. Jeff Bezos was born of Amazon, was born in New Mexico. So there was definitely some tech that got started here and is still around. Facebook has a real big place, that facility they've put in Los Lunas, New Mexico, and that's of course in the Albuquerque area. And New Mexico, most of the development is around the Albuquerque area. To a great extent, that's where the population increases and everything else, the growth is. Rio Rancho in particular, in that area with the Intel growth, but not so much in my corner, and that's good for reasons as well. I mean, I really enjoy the rule setting that I'm in, and I'm not a big thing on city life, of going into Albuquerque and just that rush in some areas. That just, even the traffic kind of scares me in a lot of places of Albuquerque. So, and there's, Michael. Hi, Michael. I'm glad to have the viewers for the live stream, and kind of going through and answering questions, just chatting for a bit, chatting for the hour, which we're coming on close to, where it's approaching 11 a.m. here. I like to have these live streams. I just sell in. I like to keep them to an hour for all that, and that reflects the busy lives that people are talking about and everything else. That just, I realize that we have other stuff to do, but it's just an hour of the week that I have to go through and talk with potential viewers, and kind of catch up to maybe some things that some constructive criticism, hopefully, of where they think I should focus on or what I should do. I was talking earlier, Chris, about going through and doing. Thomas relayed to me that I need to go through and do a screen of the at the start of the stream that's presented like this, and I'm going to come up with using the IBM Rebus symbols that Brad Paul developed, and to have I'll be live momentarily or something like that, to using those symbols to along with some word for a screen, and having some music, and that big thing of of course, of copyrighted music. You can't, and that's the amazing thing I find for the technology, even on Facebook, and YouTube, to where they go through as you upload a video. They can go through for thinking that it infringes upon copyrights, and they'll go through, and Facebook goes through and says that they'll mute the video if you're doing something like you're doing a dash cam, and you're playing your music in your car, of course, and what do they expect? When you upload that video, it's going to carry that audio content of that song, and they're going to say that you're trying to violate copyright laws. Well, you just, for that section of song, it's not like people are going to be recording and listening to that music from your video. Yeah, and he was saying, yeah, David, you and Chris give me a window out of my being housebound. I'd like to hear something interesting. You both provide that, and that's great to hear. I mean, as I say, the focus of my channel is to be informative, to go through and expose people at least to the IBM PS2s and other IBM systems, that I'm not necessarily the most knowledgeable source, but I know where the compilation of information from those sources are. And it's a matter of just me being the middleman or presenting the data. And again, kind of a big shout out to Major Tom for everything that he does. And I know that he has a schedule that he has to do other things, and has his livelihood there of that. But I really want to thank him for providing the Ardent tool as a mechanism of a place that I can always drive people to for getting information. And that's where, I mean, if I didn't have that resource, I'd have to do that locally, and that takes time. And it's good for me to just to have that resource out there where I can, and I do and of course I go through and I supply information to Major Tom along with others, and I'll be even doing some of that later on today. He's put some questions to me about even a week ago that I still need to respond to on some of the systems, and that's mainly in pictures of what I have or some other little details here and there, so he can compile a page of information on something. And so I'll have to attend to that later on today, but I did want to give a shout out to him. Yep, learning together and having fun with the hobby. So it's coming right on the where I've been live for about an hour. I realized that there was a brief time in there before I really kind of got started on the stream, but I'm going to go through within the next few minutes. I'll go through and end it, and we'll go through and on our lives, and then have to kind of wait for the live stream next week, next Saturday at this time. I want to let me grab one of the systems, and in fact I can grab more than one and put them up as kind of an outro to today. And I do have my my diskette labels, and I need to come up with some templates for starting to make diskettes and labeling my diskettes, because I don't know if you saw this, the diskettes I moved from my bench right now. I don't have I have a lot of those without labels, and I need to get better at going through and doing that to putting labels on diskettes when I make them. And for the camcorder, I only get about one of the three in the picture anyway. But these are the PS2 model P75, and I realize they're dirty, and that's one of the things I'll be doing a little bit today, is to clean on them. And wow, I'm up to 5 concurrent viewers is what YouTube is showing me now, and then playbacks is marked as 20. But these are the orange plasma screens to going through and working with them and powering them up, and they're based on, of course, the 486 DX33 CPU. It's on a CPU card in there, and there's been modifications to that CPU card that people like Jim Shorney have done, of like the Facebook group, with Jim's electronic background, to go through and modify so it had a faster CPU on there. And it's kind of hard for that, where that is on the system. It's really tucked back in a corner to upgrade that CPU. Have enough space for a heatsink and fan sometimes for a CPU that's there. But I wanted to bring those up because those are going to be some feature content in the upcoming week, and I'll be working with them. I know that those are a system that people enjoy. You can just barely see out of the corner there. Is one of these systems does have the XGA2 video card, and this being the monitor connection, or the plasma display connection, and then this being external video. And the P75, and I'm not able to see what's on, I want to make sure it's up on video, not with my webcam interfering with it. But it's one or the other, of course, for the P75. They're still in that era of to where they're not able to do the video at the same time or the same end devices. So that's been an hour, and I realize I've got other viewers that have dropped off for having to go on with their day. So this is where I'm going to end it. This is IBM Museum, and that's all I have for now. Thank you for watching.